Well, happy Friday again. Again, I hope it's a great day wherever you are and for whatever you need to do today. But for a moment, come on in. Let's share a thought or two for a moment. I had something I want to share with you today. I was remembering something that happened. I believe it was in the summer of 1975, if I'm not mistaken. Could be off a year, but about 1975. A roommate from college and I were together for a little while. He'd come by to visit, and he said, let's go out to the airport out here. He was a pilot and liked to go check out the planes and so forth. So we went out in Tulsa, we went out to the Riverside Airport, not too far from where we were. We were checking out some planes. He was talking about different things, and maybe one day he'd come and get me. We'd go for a flight and so forth and all of that, and just talking, carrying on. And while we were there, we started hearing a helicopter. We turned and looked above us, and here came in a small helicopter. We watched it as it was coming down, kind of interesting just to watch. It wasn't a sight you see every day, a helicopter landing just not very far away from where we were standing. As it came on down, we kind of backed out of the way to make sure we were clear, and the pilot knew that we weren't in his way. And we watched, and the helicopter came down, and as I said, it was a small one, and there were just two men on the helicopter. So we kind of went about our business. Once it got to the ground and the men were in it, we kind of got busy about whatever we were doing, talking about. I'm sure it was extremely important to young guys, college guys that way. Anyway, so we turned around a few moments later. We saw the two men had gotten out of that helicopter, and they were trying to push it back into a shed. On this little helicopter, it had skids on it, and you had to hook the wheels on it and kind of work a lever over, get the wheels under it, and then you could raise the back up and you'd roll the thing by hand. Fairly lightweight, fairly small. Anyway, he said, I think they're having trouble getting that helicopter back into its parking place in the shed. And it seemed like they were having trouble getting it to roll uneven ground or whatever it was. And he said, let's go help them. I said, oh, okay, let's go. As we got a little closer, he said, you know what? I think that's Roy Clark. Now, if you don't know who Roy Clark is, go look him up. And I knew that the hee-haw star and country music aficionado, great singer, noted recording artist, had a place in Tulsa, a home there. And so we started getting closer. I said, no, we can't go over there. We can't go bother them and everything. They'll get it in there. And he said, no, come on, let's go. And he encouraged me. And so we just started walking over there and said, can we help you guys? And the pilot said, sure, come on. And then Mr. Clark said, yeah, come on, help us, guys. And so the four of us, we rolled the helicopter back into its place and put it there. And the pilot said, hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate your help getting it in there. And he said, yeah, no problem and everything. We started to walk away. And the other fellow turned around and he says, hey, thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Stuck out his hand. And he said, I'm Roy Clark. And I said, I know. I'm so bright. My roommate was a little bit dumbfounded. Couldn't say very much. But in a minute, I said, well, yeah, I told him, I said, I'm Russ Dyer. And he said, glad to meet you, Russ. And he turned to my roommate, Dwayne. He said, hey, glad to meet you. Shout out to Dwayne. Anyway, I don't know that in my life I'd ever met a celebrity. I know I'd never shaken hands with somebody that was recognized, a music artist or that kind and so forth. About as close as I came, I shook hands with Oral Roberts one time when he spoke at my high school, but Roy Clark was more impressive to me. I'd listened to his music and so forth. Anyway, he shook hands with us, talked with us for a few moments and everything. And he said, guys, I really appreciate you coming and helping. He says, I've been looking at this helicopter, and this fellow's wanting to sell it to me and thinks I could use this thing to kind of get around a little bit and everything, and thought I might, what do you think? And I'm thinking, Roy Clark talking to us about buying a helicopter? A couple of guys he doesn't even know? You know what I realized that day after shaking hands with him and being there? I'd been so offset by the idea of going up to a celebrity, actually talking to a celebrity and so forth. I found out he was just an ordinary guy. He had 5 fingers or 4 and a thumb on each hand. He really wasn't that big a guy and everything, and just ordinary, just talked to us like we were people and he was people. Never being around celebrities, I didn't know. But I found out he was just like us. As far as I know, I never saw Roy Clark again after that. Haven't seen that many celebrities in person myself, a few along the way, but not very many. But never really conversed with any quite like I did that day. But I guess I did kind of realize, they're just people. People just like you and me. And there we are. I think that's important to understand. Because when you stop and think about it, we talk a lot about Jesus as Christians. And I wonder how it would feel to be in his presence. I've often thought I would have loved to have been on the mountain and listened to him speak when he gave that great oration that we call the Sermon on the Mount. To watch him there sometimes and listen to him. Or be about his work and see him as he would reach out and touch a leper. Put mud onto the eyes of a blind man. Or the many other things that he did along the way. Wouldn't it have been something to be one of those men who multiplied that bread, who went about to spread the bread and the fish among the many people? What a thing it would have been. And when we stop and think about it, I think Jesus has that high place that we might be a little bit dumbfounded, seeing him in that celebrity status. But the writer of the book of Hebrews reminds us that Jesus was just like us in many ways. Verse 14 of chapter 4, seeing then that we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold fast our confession, that encouragement. But notice what he says in verse 15 and 16. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy to find grace to help in a time of need. And the key of it is, he was where we are. He knows what we deal with, and he understands it. When he puts out his hand, it's that five-fingered hand, because he's been where we are. Jesus knows. I'm not trying to equate Jesus and Roy Clark. I hope you understand what I'm saying. That he had the human character just like we do. We sometimes sing the old song, what a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and griefs to bear, what a privilege to carry. Everything through him in prayer. We go to God through Jesus because he knows and understands where we are. I'm going to talk some more about that one a little bit later. But for today, we come to realize that the people that we sometimes stand back and hold in awe are people just like us. And that ought to be a pretty good feeling. That's you and me. Okay, my friends, have a great day. Realize we're all in this same boat together. And I hope it's a great Friday for you. Thanks for listening today, and we will do some more in the coming days. Thank you a lot for being with me.